Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everybody. So, who in here is officially an empty nester? Everybody's gone. Who in here still has a few in the nest? Who in here are currently, they left the nest and they're back? Yeah. Man, I got I think the only thing, when my oldest son, and Amanda will attest to this, when my oldest son left home and I took him to college when he was 18, I cried like a baby. Just did. I think the only thing that's harder than them leaving home is if they all move back when they're 30. So it's not an option. It's not. Glad you're here this morning. So we're going to continue to talk about day number 4, the day that God created the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the habits in our lives today. And I've got some content I want to share with you to get going, and hopefully we can get to some of the questions if y'all didn't get a card here as we move into today. But I want to start with this. This is the Pieta statue. It was actually sculpted by Michelangelo in 1499. You can currently find this statue in the St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican in Rome. It captures the moment that Jesus was taken down from the cross and given to his mother Mary. Anybody seen this? Been there and seen this? Beautiful. This is Laszlo Toth. Laszlo Toth is a Hungarian, or was a Hungarian geologist who believed he was Jesus Christ. On May 21st, 1972, Laszlo jumps up on the back of the Pieta with a geologist hammer and 15 major blows to the statue, knocking off the arm of Mary, her nose, her eyelids, massive damage to the Pieta. Before he was tackled, and you can see him down here, tackling him down here at the bottom, he's screaming, "I am Jesus Christ, risen from the dead," as they tackle him to the ground. Even after he was arrested, Toth continued to repeat his claim he was Christ, saying that God compelled him to go destroy this statue because Jesus was eternal and should not have been tied to an earthly mom. So he was trying to destroy the statue. Clearly a terrible act of vandalism. Mona Lisa. Did you know it's been vandalized 6 times? 6 times since its inception. Probably couple of the most recent, 2022, this guy right here was dressed up like an old woman and came rolling in and jumped up at the last minute with a cake and started smearing it all over the bulletproof glass that's outside of the Mona Lisa. As I was preparing for today's talk, I found out in 2024, just last year, 2 women showed up with soup and threw it all over the bulletproof glass. This guy specifically was upset about the climate, and these 2 ladies last year were, I wrote this down because I thought it was pretty good, "We need better agriculture in France." So the Mona Lisa is currently at the Louvre in France. Obviously the farmers don't like art in France. And by the way, this guy right here needs to be arrested because he needs to be shaved with that cute little girl, and when we did that last year. And for whatever it's worth, from a vandalism perspective, this is Murfreesboro 3 years ago. We had some pretty significant vandals, even around our own courthouse, threw pink paint all over the Confederate monuments up around the square, and vandalized a number of the monuments downtown. Vandalism. King Solomon, a whole lot smarter than I am, said in the book of Proverbs, slack habits and sloppy work are as bad as vandalism. Slack habits and sloppy work are as bad as vandalism. What did he mean by that? React to that, somebody. Any thoughts? Does that feel a little aggressive? Drew? What do you think?
Obviously, if we practice 4 habits in our life and how we day and don't take pride in what we do, whether it's our work, our practicing, making good decisions, and practicing good faith. And that's serious in God's eyes as offense, as vandalism.
Yeah. That's right.
That makes sense?
Sure it does.
Like that.
That's kind of where he was going with it. Any other thoughts on this verse? I don't think I'd ever found this before until I was preparing for this lesson, at least not this version of this.
What version is it?
I think like the English Standard Version. I need to double check, Artie, to be honest. This is the one that I found when I was looking for all these things. It means this, according to the one thing I was reading. If you have bad habits in your life and you have no work ethic, then you're going to leave a mess everywhere you go. Pretty much so. In your family, in your friends, in your job, in your hygiene. You sabotage every single thing in this world that you touch because you have no discipline and because people can't depend on you. You're just living a life and you're vandalizing everything because of your slack habits and sloppy work. Feels pretty extreme. Thinking about habits, there's been 2 books in the last number of years that I've read on habits. One of them is this Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. If you're looking for good books on habits, these are the 2. Atomic Habits and The Power of Habits, 2 tremendous books in recent years that I've read on habits. But the first one here, Charles Duhigg wrote a few years ago called The Power of Habits, and he starts off the book talking about a guy by the name of Eugene. Chapter 1. Eugene was a man who in his 70s suffered severe brain damage through some kind of viral infection, and it destroyed parts of his medial temporal lobe, resulting in his ability to not be able to remember any short-term memories. He couldn't remember what he ate 5 minutes ago. He couldn't remember who he met 5 minutes ago. He couldn't remember what he said 5 minutes ago. This brain damage prevented his ability to have any short-term memories. However, when he went home, his wife and researchers found something fascinating. Even though he had lost the ability to have any short-term memories, he still could kind of remember all the habits of his life before he ever had the situation. He could still remember how to get around the neighborhood and get back to his house. He could walk into the kitchen. He knew where every single thing was in the kitchen. He remembered those things. Whenever he would go into his closet, he knew exactly where all his clothes were from a habit perspective. They decided that habits, they operate independent of memory. The habits in your life, actually, whatever happens to your memory, those habits stick with you over the course of your life. Did any of you, when you got in the car this morning, actually get out your phone and put in your GPS directions on how to get to church? I hope not. Unless you're brand new here, so welcome, glad you're here. Come on, this spot's up front, I think, or maybe we can scoot around here a little bit. Good morning. But with the thinking being, it's automatic. Nobody thinks about that anymore. I mean, you get in your car, you go to work, you go to church, you go places. It's a habit that's just built into your life that doesn't require you to think. So Duhigg builds on a concept that's been around for a long, long time called the habit loop. That every single habit we have in our lives, whether they're really good habits or they're really bad habits, all function exactly the same way. There is a loop that causes our habits to be formed in our life. Every habit we have kind of starts with a craving, and then there's a cue. There's a cue that actually starts the habit happening in your life. The cue, you wake up every single morning, you're feeling kind of groggy. Your routine, you go in the kitchen and you make coffee. It's just part of your life. Reward, you feel more energized, you feel more alert, you feel better. That's how it works. Cue, you hear a little ping on this thing. What do? You pick it up. My goodness, who's sending me a message? Who's reaching out to me? Your reward, you feel connected. You feel entertained. Cue, you're getting ready for bed at night. You brush your teeth. Some of you probably brush your teeth. You brush your teeth. The reward, fresh breath, clean, Lori Perry's smiling teeth. That's the reward. Cue, you feel stressed out or you've had a big meal. Routine, you smoke a cigarette. The reward, relaxation or momentary stress relief. These cues, as we're going to talk a little bit about them, they really drive your habits in your life. And the beautiful thing about these is you can actually create these in your own life to drive the habits you want to make. Let me give an example. If you decided, I want to start walking 30 minutes every single day, here's how you might do this. You lay out your clothes at night. You lay out your clothes with your shoes, everything at night before you go to bed. Your cue, the alarm goes off at 6 a.m. every morning. You wake up, you walk in the kitchen, you make a nice cold banana strawberry smoothie, you put it in the fridge. That's your cue. You go out, you walk for 30 minutes, and you listen to the same podcast every day, and it's a podcast you only get to listen to when you walk. When you get back, you walk in, and your reward, you got a banana strawberry smoothie in the fridge and a warm shower. There's something about doing that over and over and over again that it trains your brain and it trains the way you feel about things, that if all of a sudden you wake up one morning, you think, I should be walking. I should be drinking banana smoothies. Something about the process that make those whole things work. This slide right here looks a little wonky, but it may be the single most powerful thing I share with you today from how cues really, really work. I mean, honestly, it may be worth making a picture of, or you can get it from the book right here if you want to get it. There are 5 cues that drive all of our habits. And after you've heard this today, I really want you to pay attention to your own habits in your own life. The good things you do and the bad things you do from a habit perspective, they're all tied to one of these 5 cues. So let me give you an example. Whatever habit you've got, and there's a lot of them we can talk about today, good or bad, a lot of times that habit only happens in certain locations. Certain locations. I'll give you one for Shane. Every single night when I come home, I have a brown chair in my living room, and my sweet wife will attest to this. It's the other woman in my life. When I get in that brown chair, almost any time of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, within 5 minutes, I'm asleep, Robert. Within 5 minutes. There's something about that location. It's a cue in my world that I immediately go through the routine and I fall asleep in that brown chair. In that. It's to a point that nowadays I don't get in the brown chair at night until we've had a chance to talk, most of the time. Because I just know I'm gonna fall asleep, so I don't get in it. So there's something about location that can drive your habit. Here's another one, is time. There's some things you only do at a certain time. You don't do it at 11 o'clock in the morning, you don't do it at 7 o'clock at night. Some things you only do at a certain time every single day. An example, that would be coffee. It's 5 a.m., you're drinking coffee. You may drink coffee at 5 p.m., you probably don't, but it's a 5 a.m. cue. So if you think about it, if there's a certain location and a certain time, those can be cues that drive your habits. Number 3, emotional state. There are some things you only do when you're in a certain emotional state. You might be stressed, that drives the cue. You might be bored, that drives your cue. For me, one of my bad habits is I bite my nails. You know when I bite my nails? I bite it when I'm bored. And you know when I'm probably most bored? When I'm driving. So if I have a long, long trip, I'm not gonna have any nails on the other end of it. And I need to be wearing gloves, probably. But it's just a bad habit, and it has everything to do with the emotional state and the location of where I am at the time. It just happens. I'm not standing there biting my nails in front of you right now. But there's something about those 2 cues that make that happen. Number 4, there are some habits you only do with other people. And you don't do it any other time except when you're with other people. I've got a buddy of mine who lives in Kentucky. I see him once a year, maybe twice a year occasionally. When we're together, we play golf, I'll smoke a cigar. Now, the rest of the year, how often I play golf and smoke a cigar? Never, pretty much. There's something about that other person, when we're together, there's a cue tied to that I play golf, smoke a cigar with him. There's something tied to that. The last thing is immediately preceding action. There are some things that you only do right before another action. A perfect example is when you go to the movie, you buy Milk Duds, Cokes, or whatever you get. Movie theaters know that. They know that it's a cue. Before you walk into a movie, you gotta have some popcorn. You gotta have some Coke. You gotta have some Milk Duds. These things all fit together in the cues in your life. So if you really pay attention to the habits in your life that you want to create, or the habits in your life that you want to do away with, pay attention to the cues. And that's how you can stop them. So as we talked about today, we're continuing to build on day number 4, talk about rhythm, we're talking about order, we're talking about habits in our life. I know we spent some time on this last week with Evan and want to continue to build on this concept. But do you think of God as a God of order, or do you think of God as a God of creativity? Which one do you think of naturally? There's no right or wrong. What do you think? Creativity? Order? Both? Both? Is God right brain or is God left brain? Is God analytical or is he artsy? He's both. Just like we are. We're created beings. We're not all analytical. We're not all artsy. We're not all right brain. We're not all left brain. We have a little bit of both. God is clearly creative. This is a picture that I made last year. Manny, you have to help me here. Where's Dunlin located?
Kiowa.
We went to Kiowa Island. There's a resort there called the Dunlin. You got to go. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous place in the low country. Walked out one morning and made this picture right outside the Dunlin that one morning. God is clearly a God of creativity, and that is a beautiful place, by the way, if you're looking for some place to go. But God is also a God of order. God was real clear. I'm going to have daytime. I'm going to have nighttime. He told Noah exactly how to build that ark with massive amounts of instructions. He told Moses, this is what you've got to do in the tabernacle in the Ark of the Covenant. With Solomon, this is how you're going to build the temple. God had festivals. This is what you're going to do in every single festival along the way. God had 10 commandments. God had 7 days of creation. God wants to name the animals. He likes order too. It's not all one or the other. So when God looks at us, knowing the order that matters, does God want you, does he really care if you have a well-ordered life? Does he really care? You think so? Or does he want you to be spontaneous? What do you think? Yeah or nay? Yes? Why would he want you to have a well-ordered life?
Where there's no order, there can be chaos.
Exactly right. Well-ordered life. When your life is ordered around your heart, around your soul, around your strength, around your mind, you're really well-ordered, you have good habits that control the order in your life, you're healthier. You're smarter. You're closer to God. You feel more fulfilled. You feel more alive. You have more energy. Sin doesn't look as attractive. You're just a little stronger whenever your life is really incredibly ordered. Your thoughts are marked with joy and peace and confidence. You have a tendency to listen better to other people. You're just a little more vulnerable. You don't mind almost being attacked yourself a bit more because you've just got more confidence. You're flourishing. You are flourishing. Positivity, engagement, relationships, meaning, achievement, vitality. Your life is well ordered. You are flourishing when you have all the right habits in your life making sense. What is the opposite of flourishing? You're English. What's the opposite of flourishing? What's
Mess.
mess? That's it.
Language.
That's a good one. Languishing. Who wants to go languish? Who wants to go languish for a while? King David said, "Why are you downcast, O my soul?" Languishing. When you languish in your lives, God feels far away. You know, you live with a chronic sense of insignificance. You have a tendency to kind of lean into bad habits. You drink too much, watch too much Netflix, feel sorry for yourself. Your temper's short. You're prone to getting angry real fast, or to get stressed real easy. You just don't have a well of reserve to be strong enough to handle these things. You're undisciplined whenever you're languishing. But when you're flourishing consistently and you've got habits in your life that lead to flourishing, you're happy. They believe there's a happiness set point. Everybody that studied happiness said there's a set point, just like we've all got a weight set point. You know, if you're working out a lot and you're really taking care of yourself, you might get down 10, 15 pounds. And if you're not, you might put on 10, 15 pounds. But somewhere in the middle there is a set point. if in your life, it's kind of in the middle. Well, happiness is a lot like that. So here in a few weeks, we're going to do an entire Bible class just on happiness. But really, there's 3 things that drive your happiness. 50% of it's your genes. So if you come from a bunch of grumps, if mom and dad and grandparents are just a bunch of grumps, well, you kind of got that working against you. 25% of it is your circumstances. It's how you respond to adversity. Are you going to get bitter? Are you going to get better? The good things, the bad things. But 25% of your happiness is ultimately driven by your habits. It's how you choose to order your life. I was first exposed to this concept probably in my mid-30s. I went to a big coaching program in Atlanta for a number of years called the Strategic Coach. And they were very intentional about helping me try to create habits that would just make my life better. I got to have this much sleep every night. I need to exercise this much. This is what I need to do spiritually as far as quiet time in the morning. This is what's important as far as mentally. I need to read 1 book a month. This is how much money I need to save. This is how much time I need to spend with my wife. And created, by the way, these aren't mine up here necessarily, but we created 10 different habits. And what I found is if I'm consistently doing those 10 habits, I have confidence and I flourish. We even went as far as creating an ideal week, an ideal month, and an ideal quarter around those habits. You build it into your life so you're being incredibly intentional about those habits. One of my favorite quotes that coach used to give me is this: Shane, people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. Let me say that one more time. I think it is a powerful, powerful quote. You need to share that with your kids. People do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures, their choices. I could spend a month with any of you, and if I could determine where you spend your time, where you spend your mind, where you spend your money, and who are your key relationships, those are your habits, and I can guarantee you that is the future you're creating for yourself. It's pretty simple. So I want to make sure to get to some of these questions, so I've got 5 minutes left to make a couple more comments. Bobby turned me on to this Habit Healers. I've loved this, by the way, since you sent this to me in the last few weeks. There's a group called the Habit Healers. And they're constantly putting out a lot of new ideas, a lot of the science around habit nowadays. And this is an article that just in the last few weeks they put out called The Wisdom Years, the 7 habits that make aging a superpower. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these, but I thought it was worth me touching with you because these are 7 habits that they recommend can really, really make you superpower. So I'm going to read a little of this. You can see at the bottom, let's get one thing clear. Aging is not a curse to reverse. It's a stage to master as we get older. With age, you get more clarity. Don't we get more clarity? You get more perspective. When you age, you have a well-trained nonsense detector. You know, when we get a little older, we do. You have the ability to laugh at things you used to cry over. And it doesn't happen automatically. The truth is, aging well is not passive. This is good. It's not something you let happen. Aging well, you have to habit your way into aging well. You have to habit your way into creating the future older self that you want to become. And if not, those lack of habits is going to create the future of who you want to become. So there are 7, and I'm going to hit these real quick, and then we're going to move on to some questions. The Wisdom Years, the 7 habits that make aging a superpower. Number one, here we go. They move like they're making a mitochondrial investment. Do you want to have energies in your 70s and 80s? Then talk to your mitochondria today. Those are the little bitty power plants that are in your cells that are running your metabolic operations. They're just like staff inside of your cells. If they quit, your energy quits as you get older. Exercise, especially strength training and zone 2 cardio, is like giving your staff better lighting, good snacks, and a huge Christmas bonus. And here's the kicker. Muscle is your metabolic reserve. Lifting weights actually creates more reserve. Every time you lift something heavier than a cat, you're building some muscle reserves. Translation, squats are a love letter to your future energetic self. Number 2, they eat to feed their brains. It's diet. Aging well isn't about eating for 6-pack of abs. Not all of us can have a Kelly's Holcomb's 6-pack. Not everyone can do that. It's about eating for synaptic plasticity. It's for your synapse in your brains. Eat in such a way that your brain continues to be highly functioning. Your brain shrinks 5% every year after the age of 40. Do you know that? It shrinks 5% every single year. Let me say it different. It drinks 5% per decade after 40. Okay. Yeah. Because you'd have no brain. Misspoke. But that's just the average brain, not the fed brain. The brain that's getting polyphenols, berries. Anybody eat berries? Yeah? Omega-3s, walnuts, flax, chia seeds. Anybody eat chia seeds? Of course he does. Fiber in plant-based meals and a little bit of glucose does not shrink as fast. Think of your dinner as brain fertilizer, not fuel to get through the day. Diet. Number 3, they practice intentional forgetting. They don't sit around and ruminate on the past. They learn to forgive other people. We all know that you made mistakes when you were young. As a matter of fact, you are the mastermind of every single bad decision you ever made. You are the genius behind every terrible decision you ever made. It's all your fault. You did it. You bought it, you drank it, you smoked it, you ate it. It's your fault. Research shows that older adults who age well develop emotional regulation called positive bias. They literally train their brains to spend more time focusing on, positive memories as opposed to negative ones and forgive themselves. We're going to get through this quick. Number 4, seems like we talk about purpose every single week. People who age well, they wake up with a point. Purpose is Prozac for the soul. People with a strong sense of purpose have lower all-cause mortality, lower risk of stroke and heart disease, higher morbidity and interdependence, better relationships, and fewer what's the point meltdown on aisle number 9 of Target. Psychologically, purpose pulls you out of bed in the morning and moves you into meaningful action. A morning with a reason is stronger than a triple espresso. Purpose. Number 5, they cultivate friction-free discipline. They create routines and rituals in their life. The brain's prefrontal cortex tires easily. It's a sprinter, not a marathon. That's why people who age well don't need to make 1,000 decisions. They automate the good stuff. They eat the same breakfast every day. They take the same walk every single day. They go to the bed at the exact same time every single day. They carve out the exact same time every day to connect with God. Why? Because repetition turns into automation, which creates habits that stick with you no matter how old you get. It never goes away. Routines aren't boring, they're cognitive scaffolding. Number 5, they laugh more, especially at themselves. Perspective. Humor is an underappreciated biological advantage. Laughter literally exercises your vagus nerve. People with age tend to laugh with life, not because it's easier, because they've lived long enough to know the punchlines come later. Translation, if you can't laugh about your 90s fashion choices, we need to talk. And number 7, they stay curious longer than they stay comfortable. Curiosity is a superpower as you get to be older. Superpower. Learning new things increases the size, strength, and speed of your brain. You don't need to start skydiving or learning to speak Icelandic, but you do need to engage with the world, read something you disagree with, take a class, ask better questions, refuse to become a static character in your own life. Quit wasting your time on trying to make yourself look like you're 32 years of age. You've got better things to do, and here's 7 ideas. Okay? Question number 1. Y'all should have cards. So there is so much research done nowadays that talks about if you can have rituals to start your morning off right and rituals to end your day right, it has massive implications on the life you're trying to create for yourself. As a matter of fact, they create entire journals nowadays around morning and evening rituals. This is a really, really, really good one that's come out in recent years that really and truly driving an incredible tight morning ritual. I have a good morning ritual, and I can spend some time talking about it. I do the same thing every single day, no matter where I am, any place in the world. I have the same thing I do from about 5 to 7 o'clock in the morning. But I thought, because we're in here together, and one of the purposes of this class is to look for some best practices, it might be a good idea to share just a couple of good best practices with each other. So who has the number 1 cards? I know somebody got number 1 cards. You may not want to talk about it, but you got them. So just 1 or 2 things that you do every single morning, Drew, that you feel like, you raise your hand back there, brother. 1 or 2 things you do from a morning ritual that you really feel like, this is something I do every morning, and I think honestly it makes me a better version of myself, helps me flourish. What you got? Is that true?
Morning,
Yes,
every
it does.
morning.
It's my favorite morning ritual.
That's what I did.
What's
Yeah, that's fine. And I always spend time. I have a little podcast deal, or it's not a podcast. It's a Robert and I. We follow the same little morning. It's a spiritual podcast that we've been following for a couple of years. I do that every morning. My faithful, and I try to meditate on my way to work. Keep my radio off and just meditate for my 10 to 15 minute drive.
Anybody else got a morning podcast you listen to every day that you want to share? What do you got? Morning ritual.
I do the same thing. Drew and I do the same one, and then when I walk in the morning, I listen to a history podcast.
It's good. That's good.
History Daily.
Morning ritual. Come on. What you got? You want to share? No? You got one? Just give one morning. One thing you do in the morning that works for you.
I try to have quiet time, similar to what Drew said, with just no noise, no podcasts, cell phone not in the same room with me, sitting on the back patio, looking out at the trees, and just quiet time.
It's good. Anybody else want to share around number one? Best habits that help you flourish. Anything. So if you want to create a morning ritual and you don't have a morning ritual and you'd like to get one, it's a guy named Michael Hyatt. Michael Hyatt, I think, has got more good ideas on creating a morning ritual than anybody I know. He has a podcast called The Double Win. He's got enormous amount of material that are great podcasts on creating a world-class morning ritual that he thinks sets you up for the rest of your day, the rest of your week. He talks about slaying the three-headed dragon. He says that by the time you get up and you get to whatever you're supposed to do every single day, if you can slay these three heads, something for your body, exercise, something for your spirit, connected to God, and something for your mind, history. If you can slay that three-headed dragon every single day by the time you get to wherever you're going with your life, that's a powerful morning ritual. It really is. Okay? Number two. Who's got number two? Evening rituals. What do you got? What do you do?
I gotta say in this one, I'm languishing. So I can't say anything I do in the evening that helps me flourish. So yeah, I watch TV, but that's not helpful.
Is it? So I don't have a good evening ritual. I just told you I fall asleep. Time I get in at night, I fall asleep. I know there's things I should be doing at night to make myself, but I don't have a good. Anybody have a good something you do every single night that you feel like just puts a bow on your day and helps you end it strong? Evening ritual.
When we go to bed, we'll read about 10-15 minutes and then lights out. Just kind of quiet time, thinking.
Evening rituals.
Mine's
Yes.
not mind shattering, but I always try to get my clothes out for the next day.
It's good.
And pack my lunch so that when I wake up in the morning, there's less decisions. So it may be an evening/morning ritual to start my day correctly.
I think it's a great idea.
I try to read instead of TV, but it doesn't always happen.
I fall asleep in front of the TV. What else? Yes.
Mom and I pray together every night. Right before we go to bed.
That's nice. That's nice. Any other evening rituals? What you got?
We don't do this every night, but every Sunday night, we're out in Beach Grove, so we don't come here. When the boys were little, it's like, man, they're not getting that sermon. So we started doing Bible reading when Zeb was like, I don't know, as soon as he could read. And so we take turns reading and do that with the family. But that's only why I'm not saying every night, but that's a good ritual to get into that kind of sets your life in the right position.
Right.
I think. 'Cause
Good.
most of us grew up in a household where we prayed at meals, and I've intentionally tried to break that cycle a little bit. And somehow my boys have never complained about coming to Bible reading on Sunday nights.
It's good. Good. Anything else on the evenings? And we all kind of know this intuitively. I mean, you know, if you start your morning off great and you end your day great, it's going to make a difference in everything that goes on throughout the course. So we all know these things. It's just about being intentional, about creating these things. Anything else on the evening?
I have a controversial one.
Okay.
I'll share it.
What you got?
It'll make you feel better about yourself. I read this one time and I thought, that's perfect. And so now this is my evening ritual. Bonnie and I try to watch at least 1 hour of TV every night, right before bed.
Okay.
Because I read somebody who said this, and I loved it, that for thousands of years, what happened at night was everyone would gather around the fire. You know, back in the old days, they'd gather around the fire and tell stories. And so if you can fill your mind with something narrative, some story at night. So we don't watch Jeopardy, we don't watch non-narrative things. We watch a good story
Sure.
that wraps up with a nice bow at the end. And I sit there and massage her feet almost every night. And so it binds us together. She gets a foot massage, and we watch a narrative thing. And
So-
then we feel good about going to bed.
So get
I'm not going to this class next week.
so give us one or two if we're going to watch one. Give us something you've watched that the class would like, if you can.
It has to be made before 2012 or it's trash. So it's some,
Lost.
you could watch Lost. Lost would be fun, sure. Yeah.
Anything else? Any of the good shows you've watched?
In Sunday school, I don't know if I can recommend some of them.
Well, I'll tell you one that I just Amanda just. What's the one I watched? The Light. What's it called? The little.
All the light we cannot see or something like that.
Have y'all seen that? Yeah. 4. That's a really good one. 4 episodes. You'll like it. Now I'll fall asleep if I'm in my brown chair watching it, so I won't sit there and watch it. That's a really, really, really good one, by the way. It's 4 episodes. All right. Thanks for that. James Clear. I mentioned this to you. Gosh, this is such a good book on habits. It's a brand new one that's come out. I love that quote. We do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems and habits. You do. So if you don't have habits in place, you're just going to collapse. You're ultimately going to fall down to the habits you have in your life, and that is going to be the foundation. He also tells us over and over and over again about rituals. Create rituals in your life in the mornings and in the afternoons, and those rituals will drive your success over and over again. And I could spend a good bit of time on this book again because he's got so many good ideas on how to create just simple little habits in your life. All right, number 3. We're all empty nesters, about to be, gonna be, kids are back and forth, whatever. But, you know, I think at our ages now, it's important to say, are there any new habits? Is there anything new you're thinking about doing in your life? Any new habits, new hobbies, new anything that you're considering at this unique spot in your life right now that God is calling you to start or stop during this new season in your life? Who are my number 3s? Who's got the 3 cards? What you got, Vicki?
Another book that I really liked is Christine Kane, How Did I Get Here?
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about if you're coasting, you're drifting.
It's good.
And I think at this stage, we've got to have new habits or we're going to be coasting.
That's right. It's really good. What else? Anybody got anything new you're doing right now or considering? Habits, hobbies? Nothing.
Exercise. I found out that I'm not 30 anymore,
Yeah.
so I can't do power cleans and things like that, so I had to come up with something new.
What are you doing?
I do static holds, a lot of static holds, but you know, I go down I walk with my wife every morning, I've got a backpack on, so I look like an idiot. Yeah, well, idiot, but, yeah, because it's rugged, so just put something on your back. That,
Yeah.
Kind of, you do something like that, but I look like an idiot.
No.
When they're driving by.
But you can't do anything heavy anymore. I mean, that's right. I mean, I get that. I do. That's good. That's good feedback. Anything else? You got to consider it. I know you may not want to talk about it openly here, but I really feel like at this stage in our lives, you need to be developing new habits, new hobbies, new things. I mean, I almost brought a thing today that talked about the five successes of empty nesters, and he talks about new hobbies, he talks about travel, he talks about how to be better grandparents, a lot of those areas, but creating new habits that God feels you called to. Yeah.
I think in the spirit of our class, I think we're all probably called to create a habit to identify younger people than us, to talk about what we've experienced and things we screwed up.
Sure.
I'm now, I've got 9 classes of mine that have graduated since I've been in school, and so a lot of those kids are in their, some of the early ones are in their, mid-20s to late 20s, and they're in careers out of college and all that. So I've got a relationship with some of them that I just text just out of the blue.
That's good.
And grab a coffee. I'm trying to identify some guys just to feed into like some guys fit into me
Sure.
at that time. And I think it's just it's a habit that I'm having to do because I don't like adding a bunch of new relationships
Right.
into stuff. I don't want to go spend time with a bunch of these guys. I just want to text them and then not talk to them again for 3 months, you know? I mean, it's just, there's only so much time. We only have so much time for meeting and sitting and talking and.
I think-
but
I
trying
think-
to develop some of that.
I think we all, and I said this a few weeks ago when we were talking about kind of legacy. I mean, we all love our old friends. We love the people we've known our entire life. But the truth is, the older you get, you better make some younger friends. Because if you live long enough, you're going to need some younger friends.
I'll give a plug for Amy. I also chose to go back into teaching, you know, and not because I wanted to teach the kids, but because that was a way for me to get to know the new moms. I mean, you've got to, because, I mean, I'm not around them, you know, so you've got to be intentional.
Okay. One more thing I'd share with you, and we may not get to our last question here, but there's a concept called keystone habits. There are some habits that are so significant that they actually can drive you to take on a lot of new habits. Exercise is one of those. Sometimes if you get really committed to just exercise and you're consistently doing it, in turn, it might help you quit smoking. It might help you to better your relationships. It might make you dress better. It can be it can be one habit that can change everything. And one person I threw up there was George W. Bush. Y'all may not know this about President Bush, but when he was in his late 30s, he was a mess. Just physically, he was a mess. His wife, Laura, one night came home, and of course he's got 2 daughters. She said, "George, I don't remember the last night that you didn't have a drink in your hand. I just don't even remember it." And he had this encounter with Billy Graham, because his dad was president. So he met with Billy Graham, and Billy Graham said, "George, you need to pick one thing, and really, really focus on something positive." So he started jogging when he was like 37, 38 years of age. And he started jogging to the point that he did 3 miles every single day. He attributes that to almost every single thing in his life from a success perspective moving forward. He could do a 20-minute 5K, which is fast for a guy his age. He quit smoking, he gave up drinking, he got more disciplined, he started reading more, he got serious about his faith, got everything. Matter of fact, if you read one of his books today called The Decision Points, the 4th chapter says, "It's 11 o'clock, I must be jogging." That's the 4th chapter. He was so incredibly disciplined in that one area. So creating a keystone habit could drive everything else. And it's 10:16, so we don't have time to do the last one. But when God feels far away from you, what do you specifically do to try to find Him? We could probably spend some time on that, but I don't want to eat up our time. But I do want to share this last quote with you because I love it. "Our greatest fear should not be of failure, but of succeeding at things in life that don't really matter." You know what I mean? Who cares if one of these days I am this great state senator, but I'll lose my marriage with my wife? Who cares if I make tons and tons and tons of money, but I lose my children, lose my health? You know, what matters if I'm this big CEO of a company and I lose my walk with God? Let's make sure that we don't succeed in areas of life that don't really matter. And with that, we're done. See you next week. Who's next week, Bob?
Me.
Evan? Good.